Hello and welcome to Duality Unfolding. I am Kathy. For this new moon in Capricorn, I wanted to just do a general reading. The focus of the reading is going to be finding the light in the dark. I think that there's been kind of some collective stuff that we are all maybe like sifting through. There's been some heaviness. So I figured I would just do a general reading and we will see what comes up. Got a number of oracle cards, it's tarot deck, got the astro dice, so I just want to kind of shuffle everything up before we get started, kind of clear out the energy of these decks. So this new moon is on the 11th of January. Which is 111 if you're into numerology. This new moon is in Capricorn. New moons are about beginnings. It's also a time when the sky is really dark because the moon has kind of gone away. It's kind of, gone inward. It's completed a cycle and it hasn't started to come back out again. Capricorn is the ruler of the 10th house. Capricorn as a sign is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is, I feel like Saturn gets a bad rap. He's not the most fun guy, but he can be a taskmaster. I think of Saturn as like the strict father. He wants the best for you, but he does not mess around. So it's not everybody's favorite energy, but I think it's a really great energy for a time when things are a little bit slower, a little bit more inward. That darkness kind of encourages our bodies to take some rest, go to sleep at night. The sun goes down and we get a little bit tired. Just offering us this chance to go inward, especially since we've come out of Mercury retrograde. Mercury was retrograde in Sagittarius, which is, in my opinion, the sign of like the the partier, the fun optimist, the world traveler. And Mercury was also retrograde in Capricorn, which is a very serious sign of, our public persona, like doing work, career, very driven, ambitious. Sagittarius is driven and ambitious as well, but I feel like Sagittarius is more kind of focused on growth, expansion, fun, and Capricorn is much more focused on laying that foundation for the future. So I feel like the energy of Sagittarius is like, heck yeah, I want a remote job so I can like travel around the world and do my job, because we work to earn money and it costs money to travel. And then Capricorn is more the energy of I need a job that has, health insurance and a 401k and maybe some stock options because I need to create this nest egg for my future. We work hard now to have fun later. And Sagittarius, I feel like, is kind of the energy of like, let's have fun while we're working. Like life can't just be like hard and difficult and boring. So coming out of that Mercury retrograde when, we're in kind of these conflicting energies and, having this new moon in Capricorn, that's kind of like this reset of like, okay, let's kind of do a little bit more serious reflection on, where we've been, like what we have gone through, like what we've done, and figure out where we want to go moving forward. As I said, new moons are a time of manifestation. So this is a really great time to kind of figure out what it is that you want for yourself. So I didn't necessarily roll the astro dice. I was kind of playing with them. I wasn't paying attention, but putting them here, we've got this one for the sun, this one for Aries, and this one for third house. So, the sun represents the self. Aries is also the sign of the self. It's the first sign of the zodiac, the initiator. And then third house is about communication. So let's see what comes up. Let's see what cards come up. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you heard that one. That one popped out. Okay, so we've got grieving, perseverance, I know that I can do whatever I set my mind to. This is very much Capricorn energy. And then I accept that good things come easily. I am a super attractor. Okay. So let me pull some tarot cards. Feels like there's somebody that is kind of grieving something, maybe not necessarily like the loss of someone. It feels more like the loss of something, a loss of part of our identity. That sun card is how we how we show up in the world, like who we are, our identity. This perseverance with Aries. Aries is very headstrong, like they are ready to go and do the things and take action. And then we've got this super attractor card. So it almost feels like you are, it almost feels like you're being called to let go of something so that new things can come in. Sorry, I'm trying to just make sure everything is in frame so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, so with this grieving card, we've got the Page of Swords. We've got this, pages are an announcement, right? Like pages, they're assistants, they're helpers, they're usually young people, young, not necessarily in age, but maybe young in experience. But we've got this Page of Swords, and she's kind of on this adventure, right? Like she's got all these ideas that she's carrying, and she's taking in this knowledge, but she's moving forward. And so what this feels like to me is that, like when we learn things, and those things, it feels like disenchantment. And so, sorry, I'll explain. Like when we have an idea of how something is or how it should be or how it's going to go, and then we actually learn the true facts about what it was, or maybe like we see the truth about someone, like that can be a really difficult energy to deal with, right? That like we can either hold on to, we can double down on our expectations of how it should have been, on what we want it to be, and we can kind of live in this difficult space of like denial, or we can look at the facts of like, how does this person treat me, or like what is this situation really like versus what I want it to be or what I thought it was going to be, and then we have to make a decision. And so it looks like there's something that maybe there was like a disappointment, a disenchantment that came up around something, and you're choosing to move on. And I think that it took you a little while to move on from this. And I say that because, with the sword, this is what she's using to walk across this little gap. Could she have jumped? Yes. Does she believe that she could make the leap? I don't think so. And so sometimes, we're in these situations that have not turned out the way that we wanted, right? And so there's some sadness and disappointment about that. And I think sometimes a big part of grief is figuring out like how to move forward. That, this ideal situation, like this ideal thing, like it can keep us stuck. It can keep us held back. Like also our minds, right? The swords cards rule the mind. And sometimes our mind can tell us like, it's fine. It's not that bad. It's going to get better. Like it can tell us all these things because our minds, are attached to our egos and they want us to be comfortable. And when we choose not to change, that's how we stay comfortable. But change is moving on. Change is moving forward. Change is doing something different. And so I feel like, if you are dealing with some grief around something, you're at a place where you've decided or you've gotten comfortable with either the idea that you really have to move on, or you're at a place where you're like, I'm ready to use the tools I have, and lay down this sword knowing it's strong enough that I can walk across, because I'm ready to go from here to here, but I'm not sure that I want to take this huge leap. So let me take a baby step, let me use my tools to kind of move forward. And so for some of you, this feels like some career stuff, and so this might, if this is career stuff for you, this might look like just looking at jobs, and just kind of seeing for the job that I do, like what skills are needed, maybe brushing up on some training, like doing, looking over some YouTube videos, or even like purchasing something where you can up level your skills so that like it doesn't feel like you're leaving this job yet, but like you're learning, you're taking those steps to build yourself up. If this is a relationship, like this could be just the mental part of it, right? Like just thinking about like, what if I leave this relationship, like what will my life look like and what do I want it to look like? Because I think that sometimes the hard thing with like leaving relationships that we have started talking about is how there's a void, right? That like maybe you have all these things like when you're in a relationship with someone or a friendship with someone that like maybe you text each other a lot throughout the day. And if you leave that relationship or you leave that friendship, now there's all this empty space, you know, and sometimes that can be uncomfortable, you know, or maybe you're like checking your phone, like, oh yeah, like they're not going to text me because we broke up. Or it might be that like they have a hard time letting go too. And it's like you're ready to move on, but they're continuing to text you and having to figure out mentally, like, how am I going to handle that? Right? Like, am I going to like be okay with like not having anyone to talk to? Or like, do I really need to like look at making new friendships, or like, do I need to look at old friendships and like coming back and talking to those people? Do I need to find a new hobby? Like the thing with grief is that it takes us through the process of looking at, but also like looking into that void, that like acknowledging that like we lost or we are losing something. Because you could also be in a stage of like anticipatory grief where you know that the loss is coming, but it's not here yet. And it doesn't make it any easier when we know that like letting go, moving on, giving something up is for our highest good. Like that we still like need to allow ourselves to like grieve and like be sad or be angry or whatever feelings need to come up. But just taking some time to kind of think about what, not even what, but like the fact that there will be a void when I move on from this thing, or that there will be some little kind of uncomfortable parts. And I'm focusing on that because I think sometimes that is part of what keeps us stuck, right? That like, oh, I don't want to get back into dating again because it's just a nightmare to have to like meet people, or like, I don't want to go out and make new friends again because like it's just so hard to connect with people, or like I don't want to leave my house, or like I don't want to get another job because I don't like being the new person, and like it's just awkward, you know, and like eating lunch by yourself in the car, and you know. So when we kind of think about like these kind of sticky things that are not our favorite about the changes that happen, you know, it gives our brains a chance to kind of work through those things where it's like, well, maybe like we just don't date for a while. Like maybe we just hang out by ourselves, or like, you know, well, actually, like if I'm not dating anybody, like now I can travel and go see friends in other states because I don't have to coordinate a schedule with anybody else. So like now I'm actually kind of excited, you know, or that like I love meeting new people and I can't wait to meet new friends, or even that like maybe you want to change the way that you do work, right? Like maybe you want to go from working in person to like working by yourself, or like doing something where it's like you have less contact with people. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe you're like, I want to be an Amazon driver where it's like I just get to like drive around and listen to my music and I'm by myself and like just, you know, kind of delivering packages and like getting things done, and that feels good, instead of like having this like awkward new people conversation with people for like 8 hours a day. So I think sometimes when we kind of are in that stage of like grief or releasing, like we can get stuck in that energy of loss, of like not having something or losing something. And you know, this Page of Swords energy is just really kind of, it's like there's a newness to it, there's like a positivity to it, there's I'm trying to think of the word, like it just feels like that like quiet excitement of like all the possibilities, like almost like starting a new adventure. And that I feel like that feels really good. So next we have this Perseverance card with Aries. Aries is the ram, you know, or the goat. and we talk about this a lot with Capricorn, and we don't talk about it as much with Aries, which I think is interesting. But like, the mountain goat, like how mountain goats just like jump up and, up and up and up the mountains, and like they're on these like little tiny ledges, and it's kind of crazy. Like they're not scared, like, and they don't ever like fall. Like they're just, this is what they're built for, right? And that perseverance that like, this looks really scary, but like I can just do it, and I'm just going to keep moving. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm not going to worry about like, maybe I stumbled, but I'm just going to keep going. And this kind of, I don't want to say it's a contradicting energy, but the Seven of Cups is really a little bit of indecision, is, I feel like, one interpretation. I think another interpretation of it is intention, that like indecision and intention, like, both are tied to taking the time to figure out what it is that's best, what they want, like reviewing, judging, considering, and so from the outside, like, it looks very similar, right? It just looks like taking a long time, right? Because like when people are indecisive, like it looks like they're maybe kind of stalling, like they're not like jumping to make a decision, which is very much that Aries energy. But when we're intentional, it's the same. It can look the same from the outside, where it's like, okay, well, just hurry up and make a decision. It's like, well, I want to consider, like, if I do this, what are the possible outcomes? If I go here, what are the possible outcomes? If I choose this, what are the possible outcomes? And so both things from the outside look like they're very slow going, but they actually are totally different energies, right? That this indecision is kind of like an energy of being stuck, where it's like, I feel a lot of pressure to make the perfect decision, and I just can't, because I don't have enough information. I don't know. I don't feel right. Like, all the options look good. What if I miss out? And intention is very different, right? When we have the intention about like what it is that we want, that factors into how we make the decision. Indecision, I think a lot of times it doesn't have intention behind it. Because if we hold an intention, right, let's say that like we're going to buy bowls. If we have this intention that like, okay, I need a really big mixing bowl because I'm learning how to bake bread. So I need something that I can proof my bread in. I need something that's big enough to mix like however many grams of flour. I want something that is dishwasher safe because sometimes I don't want to wash my dishes. I also need something that is sturdy because I'm clumsy, so it's like we have this intention behind like what we're buying and what we need it for. On the other hand, if we don't have an intention and we're like, I just like, oh, there's bowls on sale. Like, look at all these bowls. I don't know which one I want to get because what am I going to use it for? I'm not really sure. I mean, this one's pretty. It looks different than all the other ones, but like this one looks that one looks dirty. I don't know if I want that one. Like, what could I use this for? So I feel like if you are in a place of indecision, but you're ready to go, which is like that Aries energy, then I would invite you to kind of look at what your intentions are. New moons are a great time to set intentions. If you're ready to just like take action on something, like, and you're just ready to like run, that energy, like, it's a great energy, but I feel like it needs to be kind of like reined in, right? I was going to say targeted, funneled, but it feels like it needs to be reined in, because what it feels like is if you've ever had a dog that likes to run away. When I was a kid, we had a Shih Tzu, and anytime she had a chance, she would like run away, and she would just like run down to the end of the cul-de-sac and just like run around there. But like, it was so, it was like so stressful for us as kids, because like we were so afraid that she was gonna get run over, right? And like, she just wanted to run, like she did not care. And so her name was Honey. She was the cutest little dog, and she loved sliced cheese, like the slices that are wrapped in plastic that are probably not really cheese. And so like, me and my brother would have to go down to the end of the street and like crinkle the cheese, like the wrappers, that she would go back. But I say all that to say that like, it feels like you have this energy where you just want to run, And there's a lot of risk with that, right? Like there's a risk that like you could run out in traffic and get hurt, and like we don't want that. You could run and get lost. And so I feel like this energy is very much like the intention, or it's very much about like figuring out the intention of like what you want to do when you get a chance to run. And so it might just be like, I just like running. And it's like, okay, how do we find a safe place for you to run? Like, how do we get this little dog to like a dog run? And this is like late 80s, early 90s. They didn't have dog runs. We had a backyard, but she didn't like it. Anyway, like I just want to run. Okay, let's get you to a safe place that's big enough that you can run and we don't have to worry about you getting hurt. Or maybe you want to leave, like you don't want to be where you are anymore. Okay, well, like there's a big difference between like running from something and running to something, right? So if we are just running away from something and we don't care where we end up, there's a high possibility we're going to end up in that same energy that we ran away from, which is not ideal. When we're running to something, there's an intention, right? So it's like, if you feel like I have to move, or like I have to get out of my living situation, it's like, okay, well, where do you want to live? Do you want to find new roommates? Do you want to move back home? Do you want to live by yourself? Do you want to live in a van? Like there's a lot of options. So kind of, and that's where intention comes from, right? Just kind of asking ourselves these questions of like, okay, why do I want to get out of this situation? Well, because it's too expensive. Okay, like that totally makes sense. Everything costs money. So what is a cheaper option? That like, do you get another roommate, or like, do you move to a different city? Can you move to a different city? Do you get a second job? Once we kind of figure out why we want to do the things that like we're wanting to do, when we combine that intention with perseverance, like that Aries energy, like there's nothing that can stop you. So this next one is, I accept that good things come easily and I am a super attractor. And then we've got this Three of Swords card. Like Three of Swords is very much about, heartache and pain. And this person is very much in pain, and I feel like it's very fresh too, because like these pieces that are being pulled out of the heart, like they're tangled around her and it's very close to her, I almost feel like if this was a little bit more hazy or cloudy, like we could say it's in the past, but I feel like this is very much like, this is fresh. And with this like third house being about communication, I almost feel like the third house is ruled by Mercury also, because it's tied to Gemini. It almost feels like this is something that's happened like really recently for you, that you had this kind of heartbreak, this pain, this disappointment that happened. It feels almost like at the end of the year, maybe even this past fall. And it's really affected your ability to believe that like good things can happen for you again. And I think that like it's hard, right? It's hard when it is like a really big hurt and it's a really big wound and it's so close to us. Like it's so fresh, like it just happened. And even if it didn't just happen to you, I feel like this could be something that's old that maybe came back up during Mercury retrograde. And this could be something as small as like someone asking about like an ex, like, oh, have you heard from them? And it's like, oh God, I don't want to talk about that. Like, no, I haven't. But also like, thanks for reminding me about this painful thing that I am finally able to not remember. I don't know if you saw the light flicker. That is interesting. So for some of you, I feel like that's kind of what it was, that somebody brought this back up. Okay, I think it flickered again. Oh, I don't know what's happening. This is very, okay, so yeah, so somebody has brought something back up. Okay, sorry, I'm trying not to get distracted, but like this doesn't happen very often, so this is very interesting. So I want to pull another card for how you can heal. Like how you can heal and then how you can move on. So can we get 2 cards? One for healing, please. Thank you. And one for moving on. Okay. Oh, these are good cards. Okay, so we've got 2 Wands cards, which are cards of action. How you can heal, Queen of Wands. To put it mildly, remembering who the fuck you are. So remembering all these really amazing, wonderful things about yourself, remembering how much power you have, remembering who you are, who you were before this person came into your life. Because I feel like this was a very brief encounter, and it might have been like super intense, or it might have just meant a lot to you. And I think that's why this feels so big. Like maybe you had a really deep connection with this person. Maybe you thought that this person was the one. And I feel like that's really devastating when it turns out that they are not, you know? And even if this was something that was like short lived, like we can have like all those really heightened emotions around, like, I feel like just, you know, like when we fall in love, like all these like chemicals in our brain, like they kind of cause this, it's sort of like an addiction where we become addicted to this person, you know, and it causes like all these really heightened feelings, and like it can be very exciting. And it can also kind of consume our whole focus, you know, because when we look at this, she's got her eyes closed, but her face is pointed towards this pain, you know? And so sometimes, like, when we're only focused on this, it's really hard to see anything else, which I feel like is why all of this is like dark in the background. Like, the only thing you can see is like the intensity of the feelings, like the really positive ones and the really painful ones of the ending. But, you know, you had a whole life. You're a whole person. Like, you had amazing things in your life before this person came along. And like a big part of the healing is remembering who you are, remembering that you are magical, remembering that you have like literal companions here on this plane with you, but also like spirit companions. Like when we look at all this light everywhere, you know, all these little tiny lights, I feel like they're almost like you have these angels around you, almost like, I think what some people would refer to as maybe that's your angels coming through, but I was gonna say maybe what some people would refer to as fairies, because they're small, right? Like I feel like fairies, like when we think of like garden fairies, not fartin' fairies, maybe fartin' fairies. Sorry, fairies. I hope that's not offensive. But when we think of like forest fairies and like garden fairies, and even like, you know, the Disney rendition of like Tinkerbell, they're little, but they have like power, they have magic. And so it feels like you have a lot of little tiny adorable baby angels around you that some cultures would refer to as fairies, or maybe you have a connection with fairies, like it's something that you just like. Because they're adorable and fun, and who doesn't like cute, sparkly, little, tiny flying things? Like, they're literally like spiritual lightning bugs, you know? But you have all of this like light and beauty and joy around you, because this is who you are. Like, this is your energy. This is what you exude. And so, you know, I'm not saying not to feel these feelings, because, you know, we already talked at length about grief, but, you know, in the moments that you get lost in this, you get lost in the pain, I would love for you to find a way to kind of communicate that. And I say that because of the third house. It could be journaling. It could just be talking to yourself. Like, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but there's times that like for me, that like I'll be like really mad about something, and I just need to like say out loud the things that I'm mad about so that I can just kind of get it out of my body. Like that, or even shaking, you know, like kind of really like flicking, like kind of shaking my arms, my hands, like really kind of flinging that energy off, almost the way that like, you know how like animals will shake? Like if you ever watch like dogs, when they kind of have like, I don't know, like a little kind of tussle or something, or cats, you know, like if something happens that they don't like when you clip their nails and they walk away and they like shake, it's almost like they're shaking that emotion off. Like, ugh, I didn't like that, so let me fling that away. In the times that you feel really overwhelmed, like by this hurt, like I would invite you to find a way to communicate and express that in whatever way helps you get it out. Like if you want to talk it, if you want to journal it, if you want to write it down and burn it in your fire pit in the backyard. I'm a big proponent of that because fire is fun in small amounts. if you want to call a friend, if you want to look into like getting into therapy, if you want to make art, just figuring out a way to express it and communicate it, because what that does is it takes it out. It takes it out of you. It's almost like it energetically detaches it from you. So it's like each time you're able to communicate the hurt that is inside of you, it's like one string that you can snip to detach this, because this, like, energy is always in motion, right? Like energy doesn't die, energy doesn't end. But if we don't let go of this, then it can't transmute into something else. And so it stays anchored into us. And like this, when we look at these are two very different energies. This is who you are. This is something that has happened to you. You know, like this is the eternal. This is your aura. This is your energy. This is something that you experienced. And I'm not negating the pain of this, but this is not your long term, right? This is something that happened for the intention of your highest good, like shifting, growing, changing you. But you have things you need to be doing, and you can't do them when you're in this state. Again, I'm not saying don't grieve. Take the time that you need to grieve, but part of the grieving process is figuring out how to move on, and you can move on through communication. So how do you heal? Remember who you are. Give yourself that chance to like think about like the things that you enjoyed before this situation happened, right? Queen of Wands is a fire energy, spicy, movement, confidence. Yeah. And then where you're going. So this was the healing. This is where you're going. Six of Wands. This is a card of success. So we've got this person and there's this audience, right? So to me, what this feels like is whatever method you can learn, you can use whatever feels best for you to communicate and express and process this hurt. It's going to bring you a lot of success. So this could be literal, that like maybe you make art from this really painful time and somebody's like, wow, you are an amazing painter, and how do I buy this? And it's like, oh, I didn't know that people would actually want to buy my art. I've been making art for years and I just never shared it. It could be that you're maybe start a podcast, maybe start a blog. Maybe you decide that like, this is the thing that makes you want to help people, you know, that other people need to know how to do this thing to help them process their pain, because like it's beneficial for everyone. But like once you start to take action to express this pain, and you remember who you are, which is going to fuel you, you know, like remembering who you are is going to fuel you to take the action to get out of this, which is expressing it. Like you're going to experience a lot of success. And so, like I said, that literally could be that like the things that you're creating out of this pain bringing success, or it could just be that like as you do the things to heal, you know, who you were comes back and takes center stage, and like we get to move on and move away from that pain, you know, and that like this gives space for like all these new positive things to come in. Okay, so I'm gonna pull some more cards, and I'm actually gonna, let me get these out of the way. I think the Astro dice were fun. Let's see what wants to come up. Oh, that one. See what else. Oh, Justice. Let's see what else. Okay, Justice and Passion. Interesting. All right, let's see. Actually, yeah. Let's see. We've got Success and Loneliness. Okay. Ooh. Oops. Okay. So let's look at these. So we've got Justice, Passion, success. I know that there is no greater goal than to love. Loneliness. I know that I am never alone. The more I attune my energy with the appreciation, the more I attune my energy with appreciation, the more the universe will deliver. And then I choose to be a super attractor, to have unwavering faith in the universe. Okay. So definitely feeling like these two are together. Actually, I feel like this is definitely, yeah. So I'm feeling like this is what's happening. So there's some of you that like during this new moon, you're really going to take the time to figure out like, what am I passionate about? And like figuring out how to find joy in like maybe your work, maybe in like how you live your life, you know? So let's say that you're really passionate about like food, and you decide like, I'm just going to start learning to cook and make my own food, because when I cook my own food, my digestive system feels better than when I order out. Or my bank account looks a lot fatter when I'm not ordering out. So finding out your passion, like taking the time during this new moon to figure out what your passion is, and that bringing you a lot of success. You know, whether that's like, because success is different for all of us, right? Like success is not always like, oh, I got a job where I earned a lot of money. Like sometimes success, and maybe this is just me, maybe maybe you can relate. Sometimes success is like, wow, I got all my laundry washed, dried, folded, and put away. Like this has been a phenomenal Sunday. Like all the clothes are clean and they all are back where they're supposed to be living. And this is great, because I feel like there's a lot of times that it's like, where are these pants? Like, oh, they're still in the dryer. Because I never took them out. So, you know, success can be different for all of us. Success can be something that's very like quantifiable and tangible. And then other times success can just be feeling good, right? And so I think if you haven't felt good in a long time, I feel like with this new moon, it's going to either renew a passion, or it's going to show you something you're passionate about. And it's going to bring like these really great feelings about whatever this thing you're doing is that you're passionate about. And I think that like when we haven't felt good in a long time, and we kind of dig into something that brings us joy, it gives us like so much appreciation for like that feeling, right? Because it's like, I mean, life can be like really hard, you know, like just conflict and like having to make decisions, like going to work and dealing with people and like paying taxes and bills and all these things. Interesting. And, you know, like, yeah. Okay. It's hard to trust and believe that better things will come, you know? And so it's like when we have really difficult things that we're dealing with and we kind of lose that spark and joy and passion, it can get to be kind of a dark place. But I feel like with this new moon, like you're coming into a new cycle where like you're going to be bringing in a lot more like joy, which I feel like when you think about like a new moon in Capricorn, I think Capricorn is not the sign that really evokes like a sense of joy, unless you are somebody that's really like motivated by like accomplishments or, you know, like status or things like that. But I feel like, you know, everybody's astrology chart is different, right? So you could have you can maybe have Capricorn in the fifth house. The fifth house is kind of this house of like joy and creativity and like fun. And so maybe like you're finding a really structured way to implement fun and joy and creativity into your life that, you know, and this can be as simple as like, maybe you decide that, you know, like I have a passion for cooking my own food. So I'm going to create a schedule for myself where like, I'm going to set a timer, you know, or I'm going to set something on my schedule where it's like every night at 5 p.m. I start cooking, you know, because I want to have time to like cook and eat and clean before I have to go to bed. And so I know that it takes me a long time, and that like sometimes I get lost in like doom scrolling or, you know, like that structure of Capricorn in that fifth house of like creativity and joy. Like those two can come together. Like you can have structure and creativity and structure and fun I mean, like, look at a trampoline, right? Like, I feel like trampolines are pretty much like something that's really fun, but the structure of the trampoline is where the fun comes from. So, yeah, okay. So, moving on from that one. So, we've got this one of justice and loneliness and being a super attractor and having faith in the universe. So, I feel like I need to pull tarot cards for this because I want to know. I feel like the justice and the loneliness are connected, but I don't. Like, can you give us some information about that? Let's see. Okay. I feel like I need another card. Okay. Okay, I see what it is now. This Six of Coins, Six of Pentacles is about reciprocity, right? Because like either way that we look at it, there's a flow of energy. We have almost this like infinity symbol back here. So it's like we can see that there's an exchange of energy. And justice is about the balance. But we've got this loneliness card here, and it's the Ten of Pentacles, another energy card. But Ten of Pentacles is very much a happily ever after card. We've got family, we've got joy, but it's reversed. And so what this feels like to me is that you've made a decision, which is creating. I feel like okay. Sorry. You had some kind of relationship with someone. This could be family, this could be romantic, this could be friends, where you realize that things were not in balance. And balance is very important to you, right? Justice is the scales. Six of Pentacles is the balance. And because things were out of balance, like you came to realize that this kind of happily ever after that you either wanted or that had been kind of sold to you was not real. It wasn't an accurate representation, right? So this really feels like a relationship where you're like, hey, I'm having a hard time trusting you because you don't communicate with me. Oh, I'm gonna communicate. And they do communicate, but it's not the things that develop trust, right? Maybe they are communicating about like they talk about like sports, or they're talking about all the things their friends do, or they're talking about like the things that they want. But they don't know how to communicate with you to create this sense of trust. And so what you're coming to realize is that like you fell in love with potential, or you held on because of potential, but you're actually like seeing that like there's not the potential for your happily ever after there, right? Like this happily ever after that you want, like they don't have the capacity for that. And you know that you have to walk away, or that you've already walked away, and it's triggered like a lot of kind of loneliness. Maybe you hadn't been in a relationship for a long time before this. Maybe you were in a like this relationship's been a really long relationship and you don't know how to be by yourself. I think it's hard for people to be alone. You know, like we're not, as human beings, we're not built for that. Like we're built for connection. But you know, in the same token, like intimate relationships, like intimate connection, deep connection takes time to develop. And so like we talked about with the other cards, like there's that void, right? And so I think these two cards are coming out to remind you that like you're never alone, you know, that like there's all these people around, you know, and like your spirit guides are with you, like your angels, your ancestors, like and also that you can call on them for help. So we've got like each of these people are holding up a it could be a plate or a shelf of candles. So you can see like all these little candles. So they're illuminating this darkness. And to me, what this feels like is like, it's an invitation, like, hey, call on us, like light a candle and say a prayer, or light a candle and just invite us in, or light a candle and ask us like to bring the people that are meant for you, that are meant to hold your heart, that are meant to be your people, your tribe, in. Like ask us to find them for you, ask us to draw them to you, ask us to align things so that you meet them, because like you're not ever alone. Like your guides, ancestors, angels, loved ones on the other side There's even like I'm feeling a dog come through. So I don't know if you had like a childhood dog or if you had a dog that you recently lost, but like I feel like they're too, a little scruffy looking dog. Super cute, but like I could see this little tail wagging and it's like, yeah, we just want to help. Like let us help you. So yeah, with this new moon, like if you like to do ceremonies, if you don't like to do ceremonies, if you just want to, for shits and giggles, light a candle and, say a little prayer and just ask the universe to bring you, the people that can help you to feel less alone. Or even the, like the creatures, like, maybe that is a dog, like maybe it's a cat, maybe it's a rabbit, maybe it's an iguana. I don't know, maybe it's some fish, whatever you're into. And asking for that like kind of companionship, like someone to be there to support you, because I feel like that's really like what it is that you want. I think that like a lot of people seek out intimate dating relationships for support, and like, gosh, I don't know how to say this, that like when we're looking for support in relationships, but those relationships are based on like physical attraction, it can almost leave us feeling lonelier, right? That like when we are looking for that connection, like a kind of deep, emotional, supportive, like friendship, and like the other person is connecting with us for different reasons, that disconnect can be really hard to reconcile. It can be really hard to be with. So like to me, it feels like you're just looking for like some kind of like support. Like you just are looking for like some kind of like authentic connection and support and love from, from like just a community, like a group. And so, when you take that time, to light your candle or even just think about it, what you're doing is you're also sending, you're sending that message to your ancestors and guides and angels, but the universe hears the message too. And it's like, hey, I'm just have faith. Like I'm bringing the people. It might not be fast. It's definitely not going to be in the time that you want because the universe kind of works in its own time. But like when you ask, just trust that it's coming. And I need you to like trust big, trust hard, because like sometimes we're in this dark place and like the light is so small and it seems so far away, but it's coming. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm gonna use the Astro Dice again. Let's see. Whoa. Oh. Almost lost this. Oh! Woo! Close. Sorry. Okay, so moon in Capricorn, 6th house. Okay, so sorry, I don't know what I was gonna do if that just like fell over. So we have the moon in Capricorn, so that's what's going on with this new moon. 6th house is about healing. Sixth house is about health. So let's do a health message. Let's see. So this could be mental, emotional, physical health. Obviously I am not not a doctor. So let's see what comes up, but I will give you the disclaimer that I'm not going to give you any medical advice because that's not what I do. I read pictures on pieces of paper. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Wow, a lot of coins. Interesting. Oh. There's cards everywhere. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm just gonna, let's see. Let's just take all these. Okay. So, lots of circles. I feel like you're wrapping something up. Like when I think of circles, like full circle moment, like the world is about endings. The Wheel of Fortune is about things changing. we've got the Wheel of Fortune is a number 10 card, right? So in numerology, 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. This new moon is on 1, 1, 1. So I feel like you're really kind of coming into this time of, like, it's a big shift. Let me see. And we've got, okay, so the dice on here is also, it's also a 10. It's a 4 and a 6. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see, but and this is a long time coming. It's a long time coming for whoever is watching this part of the reading, because we've got like all these wheels, right? And so typically, like the traditional Wheel of Fortune card, we have one wheel in the center, and it's got 4 little kind of cherub angels around it. And so this almost feels like this is either something that you have been, it's like a cycle that you might have been trying to break like repeatedly, you know, like this could be, let's say it could be as simple as like quitting smoking. This could be going back to school. Like you've been trying to go back to school, and like every time it just doesn't, like it doesn't work out, right? Like maybe it's financial, maybe it's time, maybe it's whatever. But I feel like there's this big part of you that's changing, and this change has been a long time coming, and it's something that you've worked on before. So I feel like for some of you, this is past life stuff. For others of you, this is another reiteration of like something that you've been working on. So it's almost like if we looked at it like a software upgrade, it's like 2.0 or 3.0 or something like that. So this Queen of Pentacles, she's very content. And so I think this is the thing that you don't see coming, right? That like you've been working so hard on making this change, and this is the time that it sticks, right? This is the time that like you really make some like solid progress. But I think that you're not expecting to. I think that like whatever this change is that you're making, like you are invested in making this change, making this improvement. Like it's something that you've been working on. So this could be, it really feels like habit forming, habit development. And this could be, like I said, something as simple as like quitting smoking, like starting an exercise movement routine. Maybe it's been something you've done multiple times, like maybe it could be something around mindset. So I feel like this is something that's like really kind of foundational to who you are, right? And so I think because, you know, it's health, like it, to me, it really, like the strong things that are coming up is it feels like something around like body health and something around like mindset health, you know? And so not necessarily like mental health, as far as like the things that stress you out and the things that don't. Like it feels like developing this healthy mindset, developing this healthy view of yourself, even that, like, you know, we all have like this inner critic that can say really horrible things to us about ourselves. It might be things that other people have said that we've held on to. It might be things that like our minds made up about ourselves. But it feels like, you know, always working, you know, to shift that inner narrative. And I feel like, you know, for some of you, like the healthy body habits that you've been working on are going to stick. For others of you, the healthy mindset habits, even connected to competence, are really going to stick. And you don't see, like, you're not expecting that it will. I think on the outside, it feels like another time that I'm trying. And it's probably, this is giving me like big Eeyore vibes, right? That like, tried to get some exercise today and I didn't. Or even it feels like, well, I really wanted to walk 2 miles today, but I only did 1. And it's like 1 mile is better than no miles. Like, hell, even a quarter of a mile is better than like just taking some steps is better than no steps at all, you know? And so it feels like this is the energy that you feel around this change, that like, well, we've done this so many other times and like nothing's worked. And like, it's not funny, but I feel like we just need to draw like a little sad donkey ears on here, because it's very much Eeyore. And like the thing that you don't see is that like, it sticks. it sticks this time. You know, that like your ego's like, it's not going to work. And your soul's like, bitch. Like we like nailed it, like we got it. But I feel like this, it's almost like a little bit of, it's not smug, it's a little bit smug, you know, that your soul is like, they don't even know. They don't even know. They don't even know. Like, killed it, nailed it. They don't even know. And I love it. I love this for you. I think that, you know, I feel like these two energies very much, you know, they're very much connected, right? Because it's there's a little bit of darkness, there's a little bit of sadness. They're both solitary here, but it's looks the same, feels different, right? Because we have this hermit that's been carrying this lantern on this long journey, and they've gotten to the end of the journey. They've gotten to the top of the mountain. And what they realize is like, I didn't need this lantern at all. I always had a light inside me. I just had to learn to see it, you know? And I feel like this is something that I think all human beings kind of struggle with, that like the way we see ourselves is not the way that other people see us. And it's very difficult for us to learn how to see ourselves from the outside. And I feel like you're getting to this place, like you're coming to this point in your journey where it's like for a long time you've been like, well, I'm not that good, and like I just can't do what everybody else does, and I keep trying and failing, you know. And I think that like once this starts to stick, what's going to happen is that you're going to start to get this more accurate reflection of yourself, you know, that like people might, you know, especially if it's whatever like health change you're making, like people can see that we've made some kind of positive change, right? It might be something as superficial as like, wow, you look like you lost some weight, or you know, hey, I see you bring in your lunch all the time and like it looks really good, you know, like did you buy that? Or like, oh, you made it yourself, like can you share the recipe? Or even, you know, like when we're a lot more confident about ourselves and people interact with us, like maybe somebody's like, hey, I noticed like you've been smiling a lot lately, and I'm so glad that you're happy, you know. And that like when people kind of reflect those things back to us, it brings an awareness to us, right? Where it's like, oh, you know, I have been like smiling a lot, and I've been laughing more, and like just little things make me laugh, and like, yeah, I guess I am a lot happier, you know. And like kind of seeing that about ourselves. And again, we've got, you know, very similar imagery. And I love that this is like the first and the last cards, right? Because, you know, you like this change that you've made is a long time coming, but it's also the ending of a cycle, right? So we had all these little iterations of this, you know, all these different versions. And now like we're able to kind of close out this loop. Now we've really ended like this cycle of like trying and trying again and trying again and trying again. You know, we're getting to this place where it's like, okay, like I'm complete with this. I'm complete with this, and like I can move on from it. I can walk forward. Like I'm a different version of me. Like I know that I have this light inside of me, and also like I know that it's okay for me to shine my light. That like I did all this work and let go of all these hard things and like shifted all these parts of myself, because like I deserve to walk in the world, like in my light, with my light, shining my light, and that like I don't have to hide myself anymore, and that it's safe to be who I am. Yeah. So I feel like this is this is just a really nice, like I feel like this is going to be a really powerful new moon for a lot of us, I think, for the collective. Yeah. Oops. Definitely. Okay. So I feel my way into faith one step at a time, and spiritual alignment puts my manifestation into motion. Yeah. So you've been working, you've been taking the steps, you know, and now like once you complete this cycle, like once you come to the realization that you have completed the cycle, now is the time that you really understand your power, right? Your power to align with spirit, your power to align with the flow, your power to surrender and just allow things to unfold the way that they will, which is always for our highest good. But you're also going to learn your power to manifest things, to create the life that you want, which is immensely powerful. So yeah, I feel like I feel complete. I feel I feel good about this. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end the reading here. If you enjoyed this reading, please give me a like and subscribe. I normally do pick a card readings, but I felt called to do something a little bit different for the new moon. So I think I'm probably going to do this for the full moon as well in a couple weeks and kind of turn this into like a regular thing. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope that there was something in here that you found valuable, and that you have a really beautiful, transformational, amazing new moon in Capricorn. So I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.